Digital Natives, India and International Markets Enterprises, GTM, from Truecaller to please join us on stage. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome him with a huge round of applause. And after this, we will proceed with the tea break. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Yes, good morning, everyone. Great to meet all of you here. I am Harshad. I lead the overall go-to-market for digital native segment. Oops, since a technical presentation, a technical glitch is expected. Yeah, it's working now. Thank you. So yeah, I am Harshad. I lead the go-to-market for digital native segment at Truecaller. Been a part of the Truecaller family for the last 6 years. Really excited to be here. Really excited to be talking about few new stuff that we have been doing. And it already, give me a good kicker when I was hearing to our initial two dignitaries, where yes, we are in a vast market, that is India, but it is equally diverse. People say that, few states or every state is like an independent country, but I feel that, every region, every demographic, every user is very, very different in a market like India. And which is where, and I absolutely align and agree with what the earlier dignitary said, that it is really important for all of us to identify the right users or the right people whom we are engaging in, because of course, we all know that there is huge business out there, but the regulations and the regulatory bodies are slowly clawing things to ensure that there is enough caution and we don't run into losses. To provision that, this is something that Truecaller has been trying to help a lot of businesses around. Yeah, so if you look at it, right, of course, there has been loans, there have been lending for years now. But in the last 5 years, there has been a tremendous increase and rise in digital lending or engaging users in a online first or digital first manner. And probably, of course, there is always this story of disruptors disrupting the bigger giants. And which is where probably, the traditional businesses or traditional lenders may not have felt the heat that, hey, why should we take the digital route? But unfortunately, when the COVID happened, a lot of traditional businesses were pushed to go online. And this was not just in the lending space. This was also in your insurance space, in your overall banking and financial services, or even consumer internet, where you look at anything or any delivery is now on demand. And which is where you will see that over the last 5 years, a lot of new trends around scams and frauds have started coming up. And it is not just limited to people who may not be well aware, and we all have heard stories in our own circles where well-educated or even tech-savvy people have been taken for a ride. Truecaller sits at the intersection of a lot of such conversations because we're primarily a phone number identity platform. And when we started talking to people, we realized that the traditional risk models also have a challenge. As again, a lot of the two dignitaries who spoke on the stage before me did highlight the fact that yes, the frameworks that we've been using or the scores that we've been using to evaluate users are probably not sufficient. And we need more on the table to ascertain if someone is actually the person whom he or she is saying they are. Understanding this need, when we spoke to people, we realized that even on a lot of lending platforms, people who are seeking credit lines, people who are seeking loans, are coming up with different modus operandi to take that money and probably go AWOL. And hence we realize that even though there have been traditional organizations or bureaus who work with banks and bigger entities very closely, there is definitely need in the market where you need to ascertain the right identity of a user. It might be a genuine user, but there are a lot of new to credit users. Someone who is just coming out of college and is not probably getting paid enough for his or her needs, they need credit. There are a lot of new gig workers who are coming online who are doing a lot of online services, they need credit. How do you solve for them where there is not enough and ample data? Which is where at Truecaller we said that, hey, because we understand the network, because we understand how people connect with each other. How can we solve this problem in the most simplest manner and not crossing any areas or gray areas of privacy, ensuring that users and businesses feel safe working with Truecaller with the kind of insights that we're providing, which is where Truecaller built something called as a risk intelligence platform. We will quickly have a look at what risk intelligence means and looks like.
In today's fast-paced digital world, businesses face an ever-increasing challenge when it comes to evaluating fraud and risk throughout the entire customer journey. Whether in finance, e-commerce, gaming, healthcare, or any other industry, protecting your organization from fraud and risk is paramount. The current evaluation models for risk assessment in businesses have several notable limitations. These limitations include the absence of intent evaluation and unreliable KYC checks that fraudsters can manipulate. Also, the need for a global identity infrastructure, along with emerging data regulations and compliance frameworks, adds to the challenge. Notably, a significant portion of digital loan applications, around 40%, are sourced from new-to-credit customers, who often face rejection, leaving them underserved in the financial sector. In our modern world, phone numbers have become a ubiquitous part of our daily lives. Phone number is not just a communication address to which transaction and marketing notifications are delivered, but is also a payment address and for secret tokens like OTP. Also, phone numbers are now the preferred mode of identity on digital products because double authentication is seamless on mobile devices. This has made a phone number on par with a human digital identity. Globally, there are more than 7 billion mobile users. India currently has over 1 billion mobile users and is expected to grow at 10% year-over-year. Interestingly, 55% are smartphone users. Very few players globally operate around mobile number-based identity, which is the market ask today. Fraudsters have become smart and are now using new and old mobile numbers to commit fraud by gaming the system with known sources of user verification. With the intent to bring in more transparency, scale, and predictive capability to help risk due diligence, we have built Truecaller Risk Intelligence, a number-based risk assessment solution that will enable businesses to make smarter decisions and mitigate potential fraud. Using the power of Truecaller's community-reported behavior, like user comments, name suggestions, and profile correctness ratings, along with our spam reporting mechanism, blended with anonymized call patterns, forms the base of our strong network-driven intelligence. Our proprietary predictive engine uses AI and ML models powered by Truecaller's network intelligence to provide phone number-based risk assessment indicators for better decision-making. Risk Intelligence solution is built on strong signals like number stability, identity switches, activeness, spam, network connections, and vintage. All of these with our plug-and-play API that's compliance-friendly and has the power of truly global reach. Whether you are a bank, fintech, e-commerce, or gaming business, our tailored machine learning models are built to solve your use cases like collections, payment authentication, fraud protection, or enabling credit underserved. Now eliminate the dilemma between combating fraud and fostering growth. With Truecaller Risk Intelligence, make smarter decisions across the customer journey.
Awesome. So that's about Truecaller's Risk Intelligence platform. Let's break the solution bit by bit and try to understand what we are exactly trying to do here. The first is, as I said, right, predominantly all of us are well aware that any platform we go, we are being identified based on our mobile number as an identifier. Whenever you apply for a loan or you apply for an investment account, you need to put in your phone number and you are validated based on that number, and then you are given an entry. Now, based on this phone number, what we are trying to tell you is the people whom you are engaging with, are those people really those whom they claim to be? How good is the stability of the profile? For example, how long they've been using the same phone number? How long that number is known in the society? Is there enough community validation that this phone number or this person exists? We're trying to help you with the overall vintage of a number. We are trying to help with the stability of the profile. We are trying to authenticate that yes, this person exists in the community and people know about it. By the virtue of it, we're trying to solve one angle of your risk assessment where you need to understand the intent and ensure the identity of a user. But you ask, how do we do that? As you know, Truecaller is one of the biggest mobile-only platforms in India. Today, we have over 270 million users in India who use Truecaller on their smartphones on a daily basis. So if you look at it, whenever there is a conversation happening, maybe over phone calls or everything, there is a network that gets formed where you're probably talking to someone who may or may not be using Truecaller. So if you look at Truecaller, we become the node which is the source of data. And again, this is not the Truecaller app user data. This is the network data. When one number is talking to another number, what is the network connection between those numbers? Is one number making calls to unknown people? Is one number making hundreds of calls? And against those calls, how is the Truecaller community perceiving that identity? If you use Truecaller, you would know that you have an option to give us a feedback that, hey, this person was not A, this was B. This was not genuine, this was probably fraudulent. And we have multiple mechanisms where the millions of users, community of Truecaller, give that feedback telling us that, hey, this is probably correct and this is not right. Using those millions of data sources that we gather on a daily basis for hundreds and millions of numbers, we use our AI and ML models to find insights and patterns that, hey, okay, what are users saying about this particular number? Is this number being used by multiple people? Is the identity of this number changing more frequently? Is this genuine or not? And this is something that you have seen while using the Truecaller app on a daily basis. What you have seen with your eyes and what feedback you've given to us, we've just pulled those insights and put it out on the API for you to consume. And mind well, we're ensuring that we're not using any of users' information and neither users' app-based data. What this means is you have access or you can understand the identity of any mobile number, and it may not necessarily be a Truecaller user. So to understand it even better, we ensured that while we were building, we ensured that this has to be a very, very compliance friendly and a user privacy first model. We do not open up any of the user data. As I said, it's a network data. And we've ensured that we use all of these proxies to give you actionable insights. For example, if you know that a number is being in use for the last 24 months and is being used by probably the same person, you would have probably more confidence on that application as compared to someone who is using a mobile number only for the last 3 months. These are interesting insights that we are building as a result of the feedback we get from the community over millions of numbers. And as said, right, you can use our models and our insights across multiple use cases. We've seen good success stories happening in the financial space across lending, across peer-to-peer payments, across NTC users, across understanding if new users who are signing up are potentially fraud or not. We've seen successes with businesses who have tried to play around with these use cases across their funnel on various platforms. To talk more about it, I'll quickly give you a view on what the solution has been able to deliver for a lot of leading digital lenders. So to start with, we initially started working with a prominent NBFC who was focusing on a lot of new to credit users and mid-salaried, mid-aged users who were seeking loans. And the problem statement was, of course, their loans portfolio was not up to the mark and they were losing revenue on every loan that they were disbursing. So what we did was we did a retrospective analysis that, hey, can we pick up a set of phone numbers and try to run it with our model, assuming that if they were to use Truecaller, what kind of portfolio they would have saved or what kind of portfolio losses they would have been able to reduce. And I'm happy to share that this was a really successful analysis that we did, and we figured out that were they to use Truecaller, their good loans portfolio would have gone by 6 percentage points. And the ratio of bad loans of course decreased, but more importantly, the amount that they were losing on a bad loan also went down. This was an analysis we did with a lending partner, predominantly on actioning the NPAs that they were having. We also worked with a leading payments platform where a lot of people use it for rewards as a result of doing peer-to-peer payments. And again, in that scenario, we witnessed that a lot of users that they were engaging with probably were putting out forged documents for KYC and a lot of other things, and which seems to be the case now that the scams and frauds have become so sophisticated, it's very difficult to identify between a good and bad. And we did a similar exercise with them, on a retrospective basis, that hey, if they were to use Truecaller on a real-time basis to decision such users, what we realized that we were able to identify about 7% of the bad actors on their platform, while ensuring that we identify all the good actors as is. What it meant was we complemented their analysis is that even on payments as a use case, where a lot of frauds are happening in peer-to-peer payments, where people end up paying to strangers for multiple reasons, we were able to stop around 7% of those transactions only on the base of phone number. And mind well, we do not ask for any data or information from businesses. All a business needs to do is to query a phone number with us, where we return network-based information completely devoid of any user data. Which is where we stand today, where the risk intelligence platform is being used by a lot of leading payment players. And we are here today to have a conversation with you to understand your problems and use cases and see how Truecaller can better help you solve those challenges. Thank you so much. We are just sitting behind you. Feel free to come and tap us and let's have a conversation. Thank you so much.
Requesting Mr. Ashish to please present a memento to Mr. Harshad Jagtap. Ladies and gentlemen, let's have a huge round of applause. Ladies and gentlemen, now it's time to get little high on caffeine with some sugar rush. So requesting everyone to kindly proceed for a tea break, and we will reassemble here in next 15 minutes. Thank you so much once again for joining us.